President Gotabaya Rajapaksa has fled the country without resigning, throwing the country into further political turmoil. Before leaving on a military jet for the Maldives, Rajapaksa appointed his Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe as acting president. Now, Wickremesinghe then immediately declared a state of emergency. Protests and unrest have engulfed the country for days as Sri Lankans face food and medicine shortages, as well as frequent power cuts. Protesters stormed the president's residence last week and now government offices and the studios of the Sri Lankan national broadcaster. Well, Alan Keenan joins me now. He's a senior consultant at the International Crisis Group. He has a focus on Sri Lanka. Thank you for being back with us here on Euronews tonight. So as we were just mentioning, this situation where the president has fled but not yet resigned, a prime minister who was due to resign but has been named president, and then calling a state of nationwide emergency. So how dangerous do you perceive the current situation to be?
Well, it's gotten extremely tense just in the last 24 hours, I think. Everyone was hoping that Gotabaya would resign by today. There's just a few hours left of today in Sri Lanka, so perhaps he still will. But I think a lot of people were caught by surprise by Ranil Wickremesinghe taking up the role of acting president. Both have been the chief targets of the months-long peaceful protest campaign. They've demanded that Gotabaya Rajapaksa resign, but also once Ranil Wickremesinghe took over as prime minister in May, they've also wanted him out because he's seen as clearly protecting the interests and forwarding the agenda of the Rajapaksas. So to have him come into power as president now is particularly galling to the protesters, who immediately surrounded and ultimately entered into his formal office, which has further angered Ranil, who is himself angry at the fact that his private residence was torched and burned to the ground last week. So everything has escalated considerably, and I think what needs to happen is for Ranil to resign as both prime minister and acting president, and allow the speaker to take over that role and head to parliament for elections according to the constitution.
How likely do you think that is that actually happens?
Well, I'm still hopeful it will sometime in the coming days. The parliament speaker has scheduled a session on Friday and has scheduled a vote on next Wednesday, the 20th. And I think already the parties are jockeying and comparing notes and trying to make deals about who might be able to win a majority to become the president and then to help form a government. So I think there's still that chance. What's particularly risky, however, is I think there's signs that Ranil Wickremesinghe is so angry at the protesters and sees them as such a threat. Earlier today he called them fascists, which is a gross exaggeration, I think, of their behavior, which has been largely peaceful. He may be so angry that he's looking for a fight. And I think the military may be tempted, if they feel they have the backing from the state, from the politicians, might be willing to escalate their attempts to shut down the protests, i.e. they might start firing live ammunition, which would be extremely dangerous and would escalate the situation even further.